My name is Bakary, of course, and I am from Gambia. I'm from Sabi Basse, and I live in USA. I belong to an organization called Soninkara in America. My role here in this program, I was designated as a delegate from Soninkara in America to represent Soninkers living in USA. That is a daunting task for me. It's so difficult to characterize issues that are happening until after everything and we sit down and assess completely. We wouldn't be able to get a complete picture, but we can identify a few things. The Planning Committee of Gambia and the Planning Committee and supporters from diaspora, to begin with, they are not, when I came in, I found that they're at arms. They weren't getting along at all. And at the end, it sounds like that the planners in Gambia had pretty much shut the door for any intervention, any comments, any idea coming from those diaspora, Gambian diaspora supporters. So that was one part that I thought it was a little bit unfair to them. It was very shameful also, because in diaspora we have a lot of challenges there, and some of those people, they sacrifice their jobs, their time, their effort, their money, you know, going from place to place. Especially Demba Haidara, he will go from Seattle to Atlanta to New York City several times in trying to rally people around this FISO Gambia 2020 to try to get people to put money together and support the program. When I came here and I find him at the airport, and he got us and several other people, and we didn't know where to go. I wanted to go home, and he says, well, Uncle, that's not a good idea because we need you to do a lot of work here. If you go home, I know you, I know the family is going to own you, and we won't be able to access you to do things we need. So I decided to not go home and stay and work with the committee and everybody else as much as possible to realize this program and not sham Gambia. At the end, I think we achieved a lot. We achieved a lot. In the Economic Forum, for example, we achieved that there's a agreement to come up with a bank that will be Soninkara Bank, which also, when we announced this to the President of the Gambia, Adama Barrow, he also agreed that he would want such a benefit to come to Gambia, because he's looking out for number one, which is the country of the Gambia. He wants to give them a facility here to have that organization, and he wants to also help out with the application. So therefore, that was achieved, and which is great. At the end, also, at the very beginning, there were nominations for the Academy, who is going to be writing Soninkara language, which they are very, very advanced in that. For the last 4 days, every day from morning to the end of the day, they sat down and compiled information in terms of to come together and make uniform written Soninkara language. And this also, the university of such a language also will be designated in Gambia. I think those are highlights that are very, very useful. And also, we found out that the organization called FISO, and there's a APES organization in France and other places, but the organization is not tightened up properly enough. So we found out that there's a committee in place to do things, but they were not communicating with each other. Some people did some things, some people didn't do nothing. And then at the end, when we had our Congress, we tightened that up as well. And we made sure, me personally, I wanted to make sure that in that constitution or in that preamble that they're working with, every detail of responsibilities are ironed out properly enough that tomorrow we can see who is doing what and who is not doing anything. So therefore, these was acknowledged and they were put together. And at the end, after the Congress, which we had since 6 o'clock in the evening until 4 in the morning, that was the night before last night. And in the leading to the next day, we also set up a committee to sit down from 11 to 2 to compile the information and properly put together, and then for us to review it at 4 o'clock before going to the finishing meeting. So we did that, and that paperwork has been put together. You know, ironically for us, or I say unfortunately, the president who was leading this program had passed away. His vice president had passed away. Another person who was in Gambia had also passed away. So therefore we decided that we'll replace those people. Now we decided, instead of, because it became chaotic when the president passed and vice president passed, you know, then the confusion comes. They didn't know who next to run the organization. So we had to fix that. We decided together, after looking at all the variables, we came to conclusion that Ousmane Jangana from APS, he's the president of their organization in France, is the closest and most knowledgeable and most capable to come and run the organization. So we designated him as the president for the remainder of the 4 years. For the remainder of the 4 years for the remainder of the 4 years, is 2 years left now. For the remainder, he will be the president. And we also, instead of leaving it to have just one vice president, we this time decided we'll have 3 vice presidents. In case of any unfortunate situation that happened last time, at least maybe, just maybe, we'll have one of them remaining that will take the torch and move forward with it. So those are some of the highlights, and it's very, very good. Papa Mahmoud Musanjai and his brother Papa, they were running the show. Like I said before, I guess whatever happened between them, him picking the leader of diaspora, when diaspora have been working for more than a year to put this program together, not allowing them to pick their own leader was the bone of contention. And that had created all the trouble, and he refuses to back down. And then those people were alienated. They were amongst us. Anywhere there's a programs, there's an honorary, they were not able to get in, they were not able to say anything, they were not able to advise. That was unfortunate. Outside of that, Mamadou Njai and Papa, they work day and night. Everywhere I go, I see them. I see Mamadou actually running like a chicken without a head. Everywhere he goes, he's all over the place. And even when he's amongst us, he's on 2 different phones, answering questions, sending people to do things. So they did phenomenal. And my own brother, Magasi, our deputy from the Basse area, Mamadou Magasi, he also done very, very well. They worked very, very hard. It's just that the mere communication and the problem between them and diaspora has become. And another small but not, necessary to mention is that the Gambian the Soninkara delegation from US was also lumped into the diaspora program, so that they excluded us also. But we decided that it doesn't matter. We're going to stay the course. We're going to do what we need to do to make sure the program succeed. And we know this is experience. Overall, what we want to look at is the success. We succeeded in getting a bank. We succeeded in academy to be stayed in Gambia. We succeeded also in the event for the academical people, the educators, come together and compile their report, and they read the report at the finishing meeting, as well as executive committee also, which is the all the delegates and the Congress that we had, that preamble, that constitution, that working document has also been finished, and we were able to read that at the meeting there. These are the highlights, and I think everyone is saying FISO Gambia succeeded in attaining more than any other FISO, even though we have our challenges. Diaspora has numerous challenges. The number one challenge for us is religious aspect of this. Can people gather and party, lumping women and men together, dancing, griots shouting everywhere? Is that allowed in Islam? Of course it's not. And some of us decided that we are participating in this not because of that. We're participating in this for the main thing, which is to coordinate and bring Soninke community together, and also have a written language called Soninke language, where anywhere you go, you'll be able to read one language and write one language. Because as it is now, the 6 countries, every one of them speaks Soninke in different way. But now the professors and the teachers has come together, and writing portion at a time, sound at a time, come to one particular decision that this is how that word need to say. You know, so for example, Marambali. In Gambia, Marambali means unruly person. So in Gambia, we say Marantambali. But in actual now, what they come to agree is that Marantambali, it complicated the word more than what it is. It just Marambali is enough. It's just like, say, you know, how do I say this in English? It's just like to say, you know, I am distraught. But the whole thing is that if you want to say something, say that one and leave it alone and move forward. So they come to compile all these together, and they are now at very, very, very close to finishing the entire thing and putting it together, which is by the next 2022 in Mauritania, they will have a book. Now, in diaspora, those challenges that we have, convincing people to be part of it. We have lecturers, we have a lot of scholars. They're lecturing, they're telling us, you know, don't get involved, it's haram. Don't get involved, it's not this, it's not that. But then we have others who are saying, you know what, this is okay. But we know to go to an event that you're convincing yourself to get involved in some activity that when the prayer time comes, you don't go pray. You have every, you know, thing mixed up together wrongly. These are haram. So we have to be very careful. That's a challenge in diaspora. Going through all that challenge, I'm not too familiar with France and Spain. I understand they had a similar situation. Now, in America, Demba Haidar, being Hafiz al-Quran, he is a Hafiz al-Quran. He also learned Soninke language in the university in Egypt. And that's where he finished from. So he knows a little bit about the history, knowing how rich the history is, and now how everything is scattered and poor. And them and other scholars want to bring it together. In diaspora, for him to be traveling from East Coast to West Coast and trying to convince people to do this and collecting so much money to come help, and coming in here and having this issue, is become the daunting task for us. And then when we got here, American delegation, since I'm a Gambian, representing Soninkes in America, I was lumped into the same group. Even after I clarify certain things so many times, they still do that. And also, when we come here, the diaspora adopted Musa Drame as their father and his wife, Miss Tali, as their mother. Those people leading to the FISO so many days, every day, whole day they're cooking, they're feeding people, they're housing people, they're doing so much. I never heard a word in honoring them. I never heard a word in honoring anybody from diaspora. I heard, you know, so many people honored. So for me, that was the wrong decision by the planners. And I wish they will rectify some of these things before we leave here, because it leaves bad taste on a lot of people's mouths. In Soninkara, when you say a meeting, the strongest component of this meeting comes from the griots. People, Jaru, people who want to come, express themselves and do their cultural stuff, and also asking for individuals to honor them with giving them some money for saying things about your forefathers and foreparents, which is really on Islam in many ways. So that is a difficult part. FISO need to work on making sure that they don't mix things together. First of all, this year, one great thing also happened, that when there was no coordination for the education part of it by the planners, diaspora jumped in and had a hotel all the way away, out of the way. It's called Babab. Housed them there and gave them a hall there. They did all their work there uninterrupted. They were able to accomplish everything. And then the educators and Islamic scholars went to Supreme Islamic Council. They were also completely away from all the distraction. So now you cannot say, I am coming to FISO, I'm going to a party, because I never attended any of them. I went to the education part and would have loved to go to Islamic Council to listen to the lecturers and their advice how to, run this. So therefore, the one most challenging part, which will be very difficult, is to try to, the cultural part of it, to divide men and women. Don't have them mixing together, dancing and screaming and doing all of that. That's un-Islam. If they can do their cultural stuff separate from each other, even if they're going to be on the same place, but men on one side, women on the other side, okay, that might be at some point. I am not an expert to say Islamically that will be okay, but and some of the dancing and all of this other singing and stuff like that could be seceded from the program, would be nice. And if they cannot stop it, but let people who are doing that have it done all the way away from the other activities. This way we don't mix apples and oranges. People like me who doesn't want to attend those things, I am not going to be bothered with it. People who want to attend those things only, they're not going to be bothered with the issues I'm dealing with, such as the education and trying to put together an organization that will have a good democratic governance and also come with some kind of social cohesion and economically sound community. These are what we're involved in. In our delegations here, the person who's leading the education part, putting together the language, his name is Yerosila. His philosophy is that if we say let's meet at 2 o'clock, he's there 10, 15 minutes before 2. 5 minutes after 2, people are not there, he's out. So you can have your business on your own. He's not there because he designated this time to do what needs to be done here at that time. You're not there, you're on your own. You can't depend on him now. So this is what we're trying to adopt. Mainly even when we have a meeting, we give everybody 15-minute window. If you're not there, we have a quorum, we're having our meeting. When you come, you can sit down and pick up bits and pieces, but we're not going back for you. Because what we realize is that the community is centered around pretty much uselessness, which is, okay, we want to do one thing, but while we agree to do this at a certain time, one person would decide that his personal business is more important than being here, so therefore not come, while all of us left everything and sit there. And that person, whenever they decide that they're satisfied in their personal endeavors and now they're coming to join us, they will stop all of us from doing everything that we want to do here and then keep us here more than we need to be, more than away from our daily activities. So those are very, very destructive. And as an organization, if we center all our business around those people, we become very, very distracted, and then the issues will not be highlighted. And the other part, when we say strong men, you know, for example, in this particular deal here, we had French delegation. They too have fractions. Everywhere we go, the fractions are arguing. They're trying to. So these are all because one person who was there, the president, was so good in bringing everybody together, but there's no structure for people to follow in his absence. Therefore, after his death, everybody's running different directions. And as we know in Africa, that's what happens. When one president who will become a president for years and years, once he leaves, then there's a civil war because people cannot see eye to eye. Whatever he was doing it on his own to satisfy him and his, cohorts, and he did not build that institution that says, you know what, this is not me, is for the whole country. If I'm not here, anyone can step in here. All they have to do is to read the preamble and follow. They can decide it to amend it, or they can decide it to leave it as it is. So this is why we feel that if Africa adopted that particular way of doing business, they will be great. They will be great, and we can avoid a lot of chaotic situations and all of these coup d'etats and everything else. Well, President Barrow is a Soninke to the core, and his understanding of Soninke is better than some of the Gambian Soninkes who lives in Serekunda and Banjul. So I rated him #1. He did very well. I think he needs help. And one little thing I will drop in the bucket as a community organizer, I am not satisfied that President Barrow comes to the meeting of Soninkes in the Gambia. All the opposition leaders were not there. No one from the parliament, no one, all of those things are not. This is a small country. If we're going to come and center around the president and work with him, we needed to include everybody else to know and to let them know that the Soninkes are not only for Barrow, all right, we for Gambia. Barrow is our own. We will support him no matter what, but we need to include others as well. I would have loved to do that if I had an opportunity. And by the way, a day before the FISO, I went to the office of the organizers to talk to them. The president was too busy to talk to me. I asked questions. I couldn't get any answer. At the end, my brother was there, Mama Mangasi. He says to me, brother, all I can do is to ask you to give us some advices, whatever you think need to be addressed that you don't see addressed. I will put that in and then we'll work on it. So I gave him my advices and I left. It would have been great if we had some translators in our midst who would at least translate some Gambian languages in the event. It would have been great. But we didn't have that because those were not considered. Also French, majority of people speak French who are coming here from all those different countries. So I guess next time, at least in the forums like maybe a Congress or economic forum or those particular closed door events, provide a translation so that everybody will be comfortable. You're not going back and forth to different things. I think overall we succeeded in doing what needed to be done. A program and organization that didn't have preamble now have some kind of preamble, which is amendable going forward, have some kind of constitution, have some kind of leg to stand on, so to speak. And our aim, which is to compile the languages. I personally have books and puzzles to take to my children and other children who can learn Soninkara language, which is a beautiful thing. And also we have a beginning work of a bank. We have one person who pledged to put in 100 million CFA. And we have another millionaire who came here with his own plane, who's also very, very aggressive and want to, whatever it needs, I will give it to it, he said. And we had a president of this country who also agreed to give us a facility, provided we apply for it, and also help us get the licensing. Licensing is the best thing. It's very difficult to get it in different places, but here, since we are connected with officials at the very top, I think it's possible, and he agreed, the president had promised us that. And the academy also, writing the Soninkara language, will be here. Those are highlights of the event, and I hope that before everything ended, the diaspora and the planning committee and the FAs from France come to terms on their issues and moving things forward to 2022 in Mauritania.